Welcome back to the cryptoworld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now the Bitcoin price is trading below critical support, but we are still seeing some major divergences form on the larger timeframes. So I'll be talking about that in just a moment, alongside some other important Bitcoin charts later in the video. And if that sounds good to you, just before we jump into it, make sure to drop a like down below. And if you're new to the channel, you might as well subscribe with notifications turned on for more updates just like this every single day. But with all of that out of the way, let's get straight into what this video is about. So right here, we're on the Bitcoin to US dollar chart on the 12-hour time frame, and this is the Bollinger Bands indicator. And you can see that over the past one day, clearly the Bitcoin price has broken the lower band in the Bollinger Bands indicator, which is one of the reasons why the Bitcoin price has experienced a volatile move to the downside over the past one day. Because what I have been saying about this chart over the past half a week is if we start breaking the higher band in the Bollinger Bands indicator, which is coming in at around 44,000, then in that case, we could see a volatile move to the upside. But of course, if we break this support line, which I mentioned yesterday is coming in at around 41,000 approximately, then in that case, we could experience a volatile move to the downside. And obviously, that was the direction that we ended up heading in, but there was also other factors involved, like the NASDAQ, for example, having another red day, but I'll get into that later in the video. For now, let's quickly talk about this Bitcoin chart here on the 3-day time frame. And of course, this was the same chart that I was talking about in yesterday's Bitcoin update video. And after the recent move to the downside in the Bitcoin price, I got a lot of comments saying that this chart just didn't work out and that it's going to be completely wrong. But if you're actually paying attention to this chart right now, obviously the Bitcoin price is still heading to the downside, but the MACD indicator, in fact, the histogram, is still trending to the upside, exactly as it was yesterday. Because remember, this is on the 3-day chart. Each one of these candles is 3 entire days. So really, one day's worth of price action isn't going to change too much on this 3-day time frame, which means we are still technically forming this massive bullish divergence here in the MACD on the 3-day time frame. But as I mentioned yesterday, we have not seen the bullish cross just yet in the 3-day MACD. We are still a while away for that. But yes, for those of you that were wondering if this chart is still valid, yes, it is still valid. And technically speaking, according to the price action and this indicator, right now we are in a somewhat similar situation as what we were in back in around June and July. Now zooming all the way out to the weekly time frame for Bitcoin and taking a look at the volume indicator, which has been proven time and time again as one of the most accurate indicators out there to help confirm either a major market top or a major market bottom. And so basically what we are looking for in these macro highs and macro lows is essentially a major spike in the volume here on the weekly chart. And if you're looking at the volume indicator over the past couple months, it has been relatively flat, which means according to this volume indicator, we haven't necessarily confirmed a bottom just yet. Obviously, there's always a possibility that we could bottom out without seeing a major spike in volume, but by seeing a major spike in volume, that can give us more confidence that the Bitcoin price is bottoming out, like what we saw back in around May. And usually we get these major spikes in volume here on the weekly chart anytime there's some sort of liquidation event, so either a long squeeze or a short squeeze. And as I have been sharing a lot recently on the channel, there's a massive amount of open interest that is still active on exchanges, which means we are very much due to see some sort of liquidation event. Now, technically, that can be a long squeeze or a short squeeze. If we do end up seeing a long squeeze from here, that could technically take the Bitcoin price down towards the mid to low $30,000 price range. And in that case, I myself would certainly be buying more Bitcoin. In fact, right now, I am simply just dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin and holding for the longer term. But if we play out a short squeeze, that will basically kickstart the recovery back to the upside. Now zooming back into the 12-hour time frame for Bitcoin and taking a look at that descending line of resistance that we have been watching for a while now on the channel. Yesterday, the Bitcoin price was beginning to trade above this point of resistance. So in yesterday's Bitcoin update video, I was saying that we possibly have a breakout. But as I repeated multiple times in that video, we need to see confirmation anytime we break an importance level on the chart. And obviously, we did not see confirmation. One of the importance confirmation methods that I talked about in yesterday's Bitcoin update video was seeing some candle closes above this line of resistance, especially on some higher time frames. And you can see here on the 12-hour chart, and it would also be the same for the 1-day chart, the 2-day chart, that we did not see a candle close above that line of resistance. So it simply turned into a candle wick above that resistance, which led into the rejection to the downside that we've just experienced over the past 1 day. So that means this line of resistance is still very important to pay attention to if we do see any sort of bounce here. And right now, that line of resistance is coming in at around 41,500. And staying on the 12-hour chart, but zooming out a little bit to take a look at these bullish divergences. And what we are seeing right now is still very similar to what we saw back in June and July. Now, I must admit that we played out this bullish divergence a little bit faster than expected. So yes, it did play out. We saw a bounce to the upside and some sideways price action like what we saw back then. But this time around, it played out over around 2 weeks rather than around 4 weeks last time. So in that regard, yes, I was wrong. I was expecting this to take a little bit longer, just another couple weeks or so. But regardless of this happening now or in another another 2 weeks from now, we were still talking about another possible dip to the downside, like what we saw back in the end of July. And if you notice back then, that brought the 12-hour RSI into slightly oversold territories, and that's exactly what we are seeing right now. Once again, it's just playing out a little bit faster. Now, it's important to mention that nothing is guaranteed in the market, so just because we saw something play out last time, it doesn't guarantee the same thing's going to happen again. But I thought if we are still seeing some similarities between the current price action and this previous price action, at least it's valuable to take a look at to consider some possible outcomes moving forward. Now, getting into one of the primary reasons why the Bitcoin price has experienced another red day, and that is because the stock market has also experienced another red day. This is the Nasdaq on the daily time frame. And if you watched my last update videos that I posted yesterday on the channel, we actually started out yesterday as a slightly green day. We saw a small bounce to the upside in the US stock markets, but of course we closed the day as a red day, which essentially flowed over to the Bitcoin price because, as I have been saying for quite a while now, the stock market and Bitcoin are really correlated. They're not correlated all the time, but most of the time we do end up seeing a high correlation between the Bitcoin price and what's happening in the stock markets. And so this is definitely something that is important to pay attention to, because also, as I have been saying, it's unlikely we'll see any sort of major recovery in the Bitcoin price if the Nasdaq, for example, is still playing out a correction to the downside. One possible level of support for the Nasdaq is simply this previous low right here that we saw back in September, and that is coming in at around 14,400 in the Nasdaq. So I would definitely be paying attention to that level for the Nasdaq, but of course I'll keep you updated on this in these YouTube videos and also on my Twitter in real time. And you can find a link to my official Twitter account in the description down below and also in the pinned comment. Now, quickly mentioning this massive fractal here on the daily time frame, this is something that we have been talking about for a couple weeks now, and with the recent move below 39,000 US dollars, of course that is the first sign of this fractal potentially breaking down. But with that being said, I will repeat it again, we need to see confirmation anytime we break an importance level, such as a daily candle close or some more volume coming in here, or a candle close on a larger time frame like the weekly time frame, or possibly a rejection from that 39 to 40k level, confirming it as resistance. Those are the sort of things that I would be paying attention to moving forward to potentially confirm a break to the downside. But at the time of filming this video, currently we have not seen much confirmation of the break below that importance level just yet. Now, something else to keep in mind is right here in the daily RSI for Bitcoin, we are sitting in oversold territories, which actually doesn't happen very often. We very briefly saw this happen around 2 weeks ago, but the last time the RSI was this low on the daily time frame for Bitcoin was actually back in the second half of May, when the Bitcoin price experienced a massive crash and we were just about bottoming out. And also, as I said in yesterday's Bitcoin update video, an important thing that I'll be paying attention to here on the daily chart is looking in the daily RSI to see if it's breaking above that descending line of resistance, which is right now coming in at around 37 to 38 approximately. And of course, that also needs to be confirmed with a daily candle close above that descending line of resistance. And the moment we do that, which will happen eventually, it is only a matter of time, then in that case, that's the signal that we'll be looking for to potentially confirm some sort of reversal, which right now at the time of filming this video, I want to make it clear that we have not seen that. That is just something that I'll be paying attention to moving forward for Bitcoin. And once again, if you want to stay up to date in the crypto markets, make sure you follow me over on my Twitter for all of this extra information throughout the day. And the link to my Twitter is in the description down below and also in the pinned comment. If you got anything of value out of this video, please make sure to leave a like down below. And if you're new to the channel, you might as well subscribe with notifications turned on for more updates just like this every single day. During times like this, there's definitely a lot of negative comments that flow around. So for those of you that are leaving supportive comments or even constructive criticism, honestly, I appreciate every single one of you here on the channel. But anyway, that is it for this update. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.